Now, the entire world today is watching what is happening in Venezuela. Everyone is shocked by the way the USA has carried out bombing across the entire capital. And after that, two major developments have taken place in Venezuela. First, the Venezuelan army, specifically the main generals from their Ministry of Defense, have issued a statement saying that they will fight. Venezuela will not surrender in front of the USA. And even though if you look at media, they have published articles stating that Trump's attack on Venezuela is illegal and unwise. This is not the opinion of just one individual. In the United States, all the high-level journalists and geopolitical analysts sat together and published a group editorial board opinion. In simple terms, everyone who understands geopolitics in America is saying that this action is very wrong. The USA has set a very bad precedent, and in the future, it would not be surprising if Russia and China start doing the same thing that the US has done. Most of the world, especially countries in the South American region, are condemning the way the USA bombed Venezuela. But Trump did not stop there. The most interesting development is this. The US president has claimed that they have captured the president of Venezuela, taken him out of Venezuela, and that he will now face trial in New York. Literally, they will present him in front of a court and say, "Now you have to face American law." Such an example has never been seen before, where one country directly picks up another country's president from the capital city through bombing and takes him to its own country to face trial. Here, you can see that this operation was done in conjunction with US law enforcement. Trump will provide details very soon. It is being said that he will address the media from Mar-a-Lago, his famous resort, and explain to the world exactly what happened. Now the big question is this. Has Venezuela confirmed that the USA has captured their president, picked him up directly from Caracas, and taken him to New York? As of now, Venezuela has demanded that the USA disclose the whereabouts of their president and provide proof of life. At present, they do not know where Nicolas Maduro is. If the USA has genuinely done this the way Trump is claiming, then I would say this is an extremely impressive show of strength. There are two sides to this. If you look at the New York Times editorial board, where many journalists and experts give their viewpoints, they are saying that such a precedent has now been set that tomorrow China could do this to Taiwan, Russia could do this to Ukraine, any country could do this to any other country. There would be no stopping it. But of course, the USA has become the first country to do this. The level of planning and strategic expertise involved, you can imagine it. On one hand, large-scale air strikes across Venezuela, and then directly capturing the president. The planning behind this is extremely impressive. Yes, this opens the door for other countries to attempt the same. But the precision with which the USA executed this, it will be very difficult to replicate or copy. The reason is simple. Not every country has a unit like Delta Force. Over the years, Delta Force has completed many seemingly impossible missions. In recent history, the mission to kill Osama bin Laden was assigned by President Obama to Delta Force. They went inside Pakistan, killed bin Laden, disposed of the body in the ocean, and returned to the US. Similarly, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, whose assassination was announced by Trump, was also killed by Delta Force. Grenada, Somalia, Iraq hostage rescues. Whenever an extremely difficult mission has to be carried out, the US president looks directly to Delta Force. Their fitness level, their strength level, completely unmatched. Now, an interesting point to note. Today itself, Nicolas Maduro met a Chinese special envoy in Venezuela. You can see the visuals. This meeting happened just hours before the US operation. They were exchanging New Year wishes, talking casually, joking. "It's been so long. I met him when he was very young," and so on. But suddenly, within a few hours, everything changed. Maduro lived in the presidential palace in Caracas. Heavily secured, multiple layers of protection. Russian and Chinese ambassadors visited there regularly. So, how did Delta Force go in? They neutralized the bodyguards. They knew exactly where to go. They captured Maduro, along with his wife, and took them directly to New York. This is unprecedented. Truly unprecedented. Now the world will watch how China and Russia respond. Russia's statement says this is an act of armed aggression. The Russian Navy has stated that US imperialism is after Venezuela's resources. Venezuela has the largest oil reserves in the world, and the US wants control. The US wants pro-US leadership in power there. Obviously, this is a massive setback for Iran, Russia, and China. But in my view, Russia's problems are not over. A few weeks ago, I had already said that it is quite possible the US may start capturing Russian oil vessels. That process has already begun. The US has become ultra-aggressive under Donald Trump. They have even changed the name of the defense ministry, calling it the Ministry of War. The US is playing the front foot, and they are willing to take risks. The problem with constantly taking risks is simple. Eventually, miscalculations happen. Things go wrong. Already, I am noticing that US military assets are tracking Russian oil tankers worldwide. Recently, one Russian oil tanker narrowly escaped. by unfolding the Russian flag and somehow dodging US ships. But in the coming time, it is quite possible we will hear news that the US has captured Russian oil tankers. Now we have to see, will oil supplies from Caracas continue, or will the US impose an oil blockade? If international crude oil prices rise, it will negatively impact India and many global economies. Another question is this: if Russia is supplying oil to India, will the US intercept those tankers as well? Because based on current developments, it is clear that the US's next target is Russian cargo vessels. Will the Russian Navy get involved? That will be the biggest question. Now, what will happen in Venezuela? The Venezuelan defense minister has come forward and said they will defend the country's sovereignty and will fight the USA. That's expected. Defense ministers say these things, but it doesn't seem like the US has much strategic interest left in Venezuela unless the opposition leader forms a government. If the Venezuelan military stops the opposition, then the US may carry out heavy bombing, large-scale destruction, massive loss. If, however, the military allows elections or lets the opposition take power, then politically, the US gets what it wants, and this issue may not escalate further. Otherwise, Venezuela could see massive bombing and destruction. The next few hours will be very interesting. We'll see what eventually happens. If updates come, I'll bring updated videos.